If I were to start a YouTube channel in 2022, the first thing that I would tell myself is that it is definitely not too late. The second thing I tell myself is honestly the most important thing in this entire video, so I'm putting it right up front so that you don't miss it. And honestly, it's a little bit counterintuitive, so it took me a few years to really get it. Here it is. To grow on YouTube, obviously you need subscribers, but that's actually not the most important thing at all. The most important thing, well, it's actually two things in my opinion, are click-through rate and watch time. Click-through rate literally just means how good are you at getting people to click on your video. It's that simple, but it's also that huge for growing on YouTube. So in this video, I'm gonna give you 3 T's for getting a good click-through rate: your title, your thumbnail, and your topic. And I'm gonna go in depth on these as well. The other extremely important factor in starting a successful YouTube channel and growing it is actually your watch time. And watch time just means how good are you at getting people to stay and watch your video once they click on it. Again, it's really, really simple, but it's not easy to do. If you can get these 2 things right, people are going to naturally subscribe to your video without you even asking them to, and they're gonna come back for more videos. So if your goal is to start and grow a YouTube channel, whether AuthorTube like mine or really any YouTube channel at all, then your goal needs to be those 2 things. Number 1, how do I get people to click on my videos? And number 2, how do I get them to stay and watch all the way through? I have been working on this video for months, trying to write down everything I can think of, and almost all of my tips in this video all point back to those 2 things, but I also have a few bonus tips sprinkled in. Really quick though, here's my 30-second background as a YouTuber. I have technically been on YouTube since 2009. I was making music videos just for fun. Those are all privated for the most part, I think. Maybe I'll make them on a different channel someday, but I got to roughly 350 subscribers in like years, okay? And then in 2017, I started my AuthorTube channel right before I published my first book. So I have been doing YouTube seriously for about 4 years now, and I have about 28,000 subscribers. So no, not like millions of subscribers yet, but I will say that I've come a long way since those first 350 subscribers when I had no idea what I was doing. That's my background on YouTube, but if I were to start on YouTube today in 2022, here's what I would tell myself to set me up for success. My sweet little boy just woke up, so let's go out to the living room and I will share more while we hang out with him. Yeah, I don't know if I can do this with you. You're very awake now. All right, let's talk about click-through rate. Are you ready? Yeah? Okay, good. Click-through rate, aka tips for getting people to click on your video. So again, we're gonna talk about the 3 T's, aka the 3 things that are going to help you grab people's attention. So those are, again, the thumbnail, the title of the video, and the topic of the video. And my first bonus tip, you guys, is that these could each be a video all by themselves, and they actually are. There's a lot of YouTubers out there who do videos solely on each of these topics. Okay, honey. So I would highly suggest, if you are serious about growing on YouTube, that you actually go ahead and do your research on each of these topics and learn as much as you can about them. I'll share some of my favorite videos that have helped me and favorite channels at the end of this video, but if you're busy like me and you want all of the tips in one place, then I am about to share with you everything that I can think of about these 3 topics, and of course, everything else I told you about. Mama loves you so much. Yes, I do. All right, so first, the thumbnail. Why is this important? Because it's the first thing people see. And if you have watched YouTube videos, and I assume that you have if you're here, then you know that the thumbnail is the very first thing that makes you consider clicking on a video. And if it's not good, you're not even gonna go on to read the title or find out what it's about. Are you getting sleepy? Yeah. Okay, okay. Sorry guys, this video might be more interrupted than I meant for it to be, but thank you for being patient with me. So what makes a good thumbnail? It's honestly a lot easier than you'd think, but before I get into like the specific tips I have, I should say that I use canva.com to make my thumbnails. It's free, and I do have videos about how I've used it, but I've never actually done a video about how I've done thumbnails before. So let me just say, it's super user-friendly. They have tons of templates in there, but once you do start creating your thumbnail, here's a couple things that I think are really important. The first one is that if you can, they say to use your face, because a person's face, especially if you have an interesting expression, is going to be a lot more clickable. And I swear that's a stat somewhere, I just don't remember where. The second thing is to have it be good quality, and we'll talk about this more when we get to the actual recording stuff, but if I could go back in time and talk to myself when I first started out, I used to just take screenshots from the video at some random point when I wasn't making like a weird face. And I would say, don't do that. Like, actually actually take the time. What I like to do is turn on the camera for 30 seconds, maybe 60 if you're not sure what you're doing at first, and just make a few different like still expressions. So like and then use those, your favorite one, to make a much more quality thumbnail. Next, the text. So I have heard that it's best to do, if you can, only 1 to 4 words of text. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And that's a rule that I have broken. I do break it sometimes, but if I do, I try to make the extra words smaller so that there's still like 1 to 4 words that stand out. Because again, people are scrolling really fast. If they can't read it in a glance, they're probably going to keep scrolling. And because of that, this is equally important. The text needs to be readable. So those two factors, having not too much crammed into it and also making it readable, is going to make a huge difference in if people actually read it and decide to click on it. And so what I mean by that is like a clear, straightforward, easy to read font. None of those swirly things. They look pretty, but if you can't see it when it's shrunken down to the, actual thumbnail size on like a phone, for example, then people aren't going to read it. They're not going to know what it says and they're going to scroll by. Let me just show you an example of this because I think actually seeing it helps so much more than me talking about it. So here's an example of one with too much going on, too many words and swirly font versus the one that I made for this video. And let me know which one would you be more likely to click on.
This is especially important when you shrink down your thumbnail on a mobile phone where most people are watching and scrolling.
It's gonna take some practice to get used to doing YouTube thumbnails really well, and that's okay. So don't be afraid to practice, experiment, try new things. And honestly, here's a bonus tip. You can actually change your thumbnail. If you make one and you're like, wow, this video is not doing as well as I thought it would, you can try making a second one. See if it does better. And I'm looking at my notes here. After the thumbnail, the next important thing is the title of your video. Don't be afraid to use all of the space. I think it's 100 characters or something like that. You can use all of it. But do put the most important and most intriguing part of the title at the beginning because it gets cut off. And so really the rest of it is more for SEO, which is search engine optimization, aka making it more easy for the YouTube algorithm to figure out what's in your video and help people click on it and find it. But they won't actually see it until they're on the video already. So I wouldn't say that that portion of it is as important, and you don't even need to fill up all of it if you don't want to. But again, it does help with search engine optimization or SEO. So I do suggest doing some research on SEO and understanding more about what that is and how it works and how it can help you get people to click on your video. Here's like the very basic version of it. It's basically what do people type in the search bar and how can you use that knowledge of what they might be typing to put it in your title and also in the topic of your video, which we'll talk about next. And an extra interesting fact that I don't know if this used to be true, but I've heard it's true now, is that YouTube actually listens to what you're saying in your video. So like, for example, I said the title of this video at the very beginning. If I were to start a YouTube channel in 2022 to grow on YouTube, so if you know your title already, it can help to even say that within the video or something similar to it. I don't, though, recommend clickbait. And what I mean by that is something where you're like, the best tip for writing ever, but then you don't follow through on that. Instead, what I would recommend doing is something that's click worthy. That's the phrase that I'm going to use. Meaning your title is super intriguing and it does make them want to click, but you actually follow through with what you say you're going to talk about. And it's accurate to what's in the video too. And a fun bonus tip that a lot of people don't think about, including myself a lot of the time, is that your title and your thumbnail don't need to match. You can actually make them different and then you have even more intriguing elements that might grab people's attention. Oh my goodness. Next, we're going to talk about the topic. And honestly, this is one that you guys had the most questions about when I asked, like, if you had questions that I could include in this video and answer. There was, how do you generate new content ideas all the time or know what will be useful when you're starting out? I don't know if this would be an interesting enough concept for people. How do you keep it interesting? My biggest problem or issue is attracting people. That definitely has to do with the other two, but also with the topic. How to get people interested in your creative process. Why do some people's writing blogs take off while others don't? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's about to fall asleep. I might have to go back to my office. I'm worried that I wouldn't have enough content ideas. There's so many good questions. If I don't catch everything, I'll try to answer some more of these at the end. So, okay. This is last, but it's definitely not the least important thing, and that is picking a good topic, content that's actually interesting to people and that people want to watch. Again, leading back to our goal, which is getting them to click on it. If they aren't interested, they're not going to click on it. It's really, again, that simple. But how do you come up with ideas that people do want to click on? You could get lucky and pick topics that are really intriguing, but honestly, when you're first starting out and you haven't gotten people following you yet, and the YouTube algorithm doesn't know you that well, I'm trying to think of a way to say this. You could get really lucky with any content. I can't say for sure, but what I will say is that for the most part, like 99% of the time, it comes down to, is it searchable? Again, leading back to the SEO that we talked about, search engine optimization. Is it something that people are searching for? And so you'll notice that when a lot of YouTubers start out, they actually do something really intentional, which is to create educational content, aka a lot of how-to videos. And there's nothing wrong with that. I will support that forever, because even though yes, there are how-to videos that have been done to death, I do think, number one, you can bring a unique take to it, but also there's a reason that those videos are chosen and help channels grow, and it's because that's what people type into the search bar. You okay? Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I had a really hard time with this one when I was starting out too, because the truth is, I think it's really easy to copy people, and part of that I think is normal because we're trying to figure out what do we like to talk about in our own voice, just like in stories where you have to figure it out, and when you first start out you're just trying things other people have done. But I want to encourage you to think outside the box, because what I've come to realize is that yes, anybody can do things and pretty much every topic out there has been done, but nobody has done it like you. And nobody has done it in exactly your unique way. The thing that I've noticed is videos that do well and channels that do well are the ones that do find a way to be unique. So what I'm talking about is there a video idea or concept out there that you haven't seen anyone else do that you could do? Or in a similar way, is there a unique take to a video that you could bring to it that no one else has done? So it's the same topic, but you do it differently. You know what I mean? Making it unique is what's going to help you stand out in the crowd. I'm not saying that you can do that for every video. Don't put that pressure on yourself, because it's fine to do things that other people have done. Again, you yourself, the fact that you are doing it makes it unique because no one else is you. But it is tough to come up with video ideas like this. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's very similar to story ideas, where there's gonna be some throwaway ones. There's gonna be some that are very, very rough first drafts, and there's gonna be some that maybe are really, really good, but they take forever to come up with. And just like with stories and writing, you have to take the time to brainstorm, take the time to think through and get past, there's the saying that the first 4 to 5 ideas are usually bad ones, and if you can get past that, then you're going to start getting into the good stuff. I honestly think it's the same thing for video ideas and for coming up with content. You have to think outside the box, and you have to be okay with the fact that it could take a little time and it's not easy, and yeah, you might have some videos that flop. That's normal. That's honest to goodness totally normal when you're growing, and even when you have grown a lot, it's still normal to have some videos that flop, and it's fine. That's the learning curve. So I guess honestly, the big picture tip for this, and really it all boils down to this, is spend time thinking about what your audience wants, not what you want to post about, although that's fun too, and I do think there should be a balance. You should also want to talk about it, but if you put your audience first, I'm sorry if you can hear him snorting. If you put your audience first and you think, what do they actually want to watch, then you are much more likely to get people to click on it if you thought of them when you were making the video. And there are some really easy ways to do this. Honestly, after you brainstorm a list of ideas, if you start typing them into the YouTube search bar, YouTube starts to fill it in for you. I don't know if you've noticed that, but you can actually find out if people are searching that. And I am not an affiliate for this, but I am going to plug it anyway because I use the free version. There's something called TubeBuddy, and you can actually use it to figure out how many people are really searching for this. Is this a good video idea? Is it something that is way overdone, or is it something that not a lot of people have been doing? But just to give you a real life idea of some things that do less well than others, again, how-to videos are always going to be much more attention grabbing. Things where people talk about mistakes or what they've learned, that educational content that I talked about, versus things that do less well would be things like vlogs or tag videos. And I did tag videos when I started out, and I do vlogs now, but I will say that they are less effective for growth because they are
they're just not something people are searching for. Like my day writing chapter 1, who's searching for that? So if you're thinking of a viewer and you're thinking of what topic should I do, something like the secret to writing more is going to be way more clickable than watch me write for 20 minutes. I think you guys are really smart. I think if you think of your viewer as you're coming up with topics and putting them together, you're gonna be just fine. You've got this. That was a lot, I know, but now let's talk about the second most important thing, which is your watch time, aka getting people to stay and watch your videos all the way through. And watch time also boils down to two things as well, I think, which is number one, quality videos, and I have tons and tons and tons of tips for you on that. And then number two, not wasting people's time. Or another way to phrase it would be giving them something that they're interested in. And I know that sounds really broad and like not very specific, but don't worry, I'm gonna give you some tips on that too. All right, let's talk about some actionable steps for quality videos. So that refers to things like the recording equipment, the audio, the lighting, how you present the topic, aka your speaking ability and your, I don't know, passion about the topic. Your editing choices, especially in my opinion. So here's what I would tell myself if I were starting a brand new channel in 2022 and I wanted to learn about these different areas. Okay. First we have recording equipment. As you can see, I have a fancier camera now. This is a Canon something. Let's see if it says here. I should really know this. I will put it on the screen for you guys because I can't think of it. But I actually only just got this camera last year. And before that, I had a Sony something or other that was cheaper. And then before that, I actually recorded on my laptop. And I will link what I have below this video, but honestly, people think that recording equipment is like the most important thing to be a YouTuber, and the truth is, it is not important at all. You could record great quality videos on something as simple as an iPhone with the way that phones are made these days, or with a computer camera as well. I am so glad that I used my older laptop to start out filming YouTube videos, because what if I hadn't liked it and then I'd spent all that money on a really fancy camera that I then never really used again? I think that it was smart, and I would tell myself this if I were starting today, to just use the recording equipment that I already have because it's amazing quality as is, and get comfortable with that first. I'm gonna prove it. Let me show you. The secret to having a good quality video is actually in the lighting. It doesn't have to be a fancy camera if your lighting is good. And you might notice that I am not filming with studio lights. I'm filming with my window. This is going to make a huge difference if you film facing a window and you use the natural light. Now that said, if you don't have natural light, maybe you need to film at night or something, I've done that a few times, like live streaming and whatnot, then you can use studio lights. But right now, my studio lights actually live in this closet and they almost never come out. This is what my studio lights look like. I have two of them. They are called Limo Studio. As you can see here, they have a nice stand. They got a little box light situation. It's gonna look like this if you turn it on. And let me show you when you're in a darker space and you wanna light up your face. It can honestly be a little bit too much. So natural lighting is really your best friend. And again, if it were newbie me that I were talking to, I would say do not waste money on lighting if you don't have to. That's something you can figure out down the road, but I will link it below if you want to check out what I have. And then that leads to the audio. And again, this is something that a lot of people think they have to have it. I'm gonna tell you something shocking right now, which is that I don't have a microphone. I probably should at this point. If I wanted to level up my videos, I think I should learn how to make the audio better. And I really want to, but something you can do that takes your audio to the next level all on its own is simply getting your speaker voice figured out. This is a little hard to do when I have a little one and he's napping, so I'm trying to talk a little softer than I usually do. But when I first started out, I was so soft-spoken and just talking like this, and I was shy and awkward, and I did a lot of ums, which we'll talk about in a minute. And if you can just speak up and be more confident about what you're saying, then that is going to help the audio quality
quite a bit. Because again, if you're using most of the nicer, more recently made camera technology that's out there, the microphones that they come with are good quality, and for the most part, they should do a good job. The other thing you can watch out for if your audio isn't great and if you maybe get complaints on your videos is you could listen to background noise. Maybe you have like a really loud fan that's going on, or like your heater or something. And in Minnesota, we cannot pause our heat because it's like 3 degrees out today. But if you live somewhere where you could just turn that off while you're filming, that could also help with your audio quality quite a bit for free. That's the gear side of things. But now let's talk about the actual recording presentation. And then after that, we'll talk about editing, because those two things also really make up whether or not somebody's going to stay and watch your video. We touched on presentation a little bit already with the just simply speaking up, but there are qualities of being a good speaker, just learning how to present yourself on YouTube, that you can only get by doing it. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I want to give you like a secret or a hack or some, magic tip, but the truth is it comes with practice. I was absolutely terrible at YouTube when I started out. Terrible. Some people are going to just naturally start out at a higher level. Maybe you've done speaking in the past, or maybe it's just brand new to you and you start out really quiet, and maybe you just make a few videos that you never show to anybody just for the practice, because honest to goodness, that can help you so much. So don't be afraid to just practice talking in front of the camera, getting used to it. It is weird. It's weird, I'm not gonna lie. But after a while, you start to get more comfortable. And the biggest tip I think that helped me with this was thinking of one person that you're talking to, just one person. Maybe it's your best friend, or if you'd feel weird talking to them, then maybe you can imagine a fake person that you're trying to help. Like, I'm trying to help this writer, Sally, who is new to writing and she is really curious about it and she just wants to hear what I have to say from my own experience. And then me thinking of that one person helps me be a lot more comfortable and feels like it's a conversation instead of trying to picture just a limitless number of people that don't have faces and whatnot. That can really help you to become a better speaker, is if you just imagine somebody you know and talk like you're having a conversation. That said, there are a few things that I would tell newbie me that are kind of embarrassing looking back on. So the biggest one is don't look at the viewfinder. Try not to be like this and looking at yourself over here, because it's so obvious. Try to look at the camera, especially if you have a viewfinder that's like in a weird location. I mean, we all do it. We all, look like this and we check out, oh, am I looking okay? It's everything. But if you're doing the whole video like this and you're talking like this, it gets a little weird. Also, a smile goes a long way. If you can try to project confidence, you become confident. You don't have to worry a ton about saying and long pauses, because honestly, you can edit those out, but it does help to practice if you can avoid saying them, or if you have to stop and think, okay, I could have said that better. Then go ahead and repeat it differently, because again, you can edit the video later. I think editing does wonders for videos. There are people who can talk really seamlessly and not make any mistakes, but oh my goodness, I am not one of them. You have no idea how often I repeat myself if I need to. If I feel like I didn't really get that point across, I could say that better. And the same goes for any vocal tics you might have. So for example, I'm Minnesotan. I say so a lot, and I start out so this, so that. And the thing with a vocal tic is, don't be too frustrated with yourself. They're normal, but you can kind of work on training yourself out of them. I'm working on the so thing, but it's so Minnesotan. I might never get rid of it. But if you do get rid of a vocal tic, most likely you'll probably come up with another one, and that's normal. Don't worry too much about it. You can always edit things out if they're too crazy, or you can have fun with it and laugh at how many times you say so in one video. And last but not least, I've learned this one from experience. When you're recording, try not to go on too many tangents. If you do, that's fine, and you can always edit it out later as well. I definitely do this. I have to cut out parts of the video that are just, we'll talk about that in editing in a second. But think of your viewer. Again, we're talking about watch time, and that's our ultimate goal. So going back to that, if you're going off on a random tangent about something that doesn't matter to the viewer at all, they might click away.
And so just keep that in the back of your mind as you're talking and try to keep yourself on subject and be honest with yourself if something is boring, if you realize it in the moment. But if you don't realize it's boring until you're watching it back, then you can also edit it out. So let's talk about editing next. Some people hate editing and they try their best to do like a perfect take the first time, which don't get me wrong, that makes life easier. But I actually love editing and I find that it helps take the quality of your videos up so much, and it also again helps with watch time, keeps people interested. So let's talk about some of my favorite editing tips. I should probably start with the editing software that I use, which is iMovie, and it's free, comes with my computer. I hope you notice a theme here that you don't have to spend a lot of money to get started on YouTube. But the first thing I do when I edit, I really take 2 to 3 passes. So the first pass through, I am cutting out all the boring parts. I'm just keeping my editing real simple. I cut out the ums, the long pauses, the minute where I'm sitting here trying to think what to say, and I just cut it down as much as possible until I have just the interesting bits left. And I recommend being ruthless about this. Like if you go on a tangent about this bug in the house, which I've done before, and then you're like, oh, that was a whole minute that was not relevant to the video, cut it out. Think about your favorite movies and TV shows and how they're fast paced. Like I heard once that a lot of movies will change the visual every 3 seconds or less. That's intense. I would recommend maybe being a little faster paced at the beginning of a video, because I found that those first 15 seconds do really matter for whether or not somebody's going to stick around. Definitely edit that really quality, but then, you know, longer stretches, like obviously I'm not changing the visuals every 3 seconds, but you might have noticed that as I go through these topics, I'm changing up my background and I'm also adding visual effects. So that's my second pass. When I'm going through, after I've gone all the way through, gotten rid of the ums and the pauses and, you know, just the junk, then on my second pass through, I like to start adding extra visual effects and things that make it more interesting. So sometimes I'll have done that during the recording process, like when I change backgrounds, but other times I'll zoom in a little bit or zoom out. You can add text to the video to emphasize what you're saying or add something that you didn't think to say. And you can also add graphics, or what are often called overlays. So they overlay the video as you're talking. You put another visual on top and overlay it. And I like to make those in Canva. Again, surprise, it's free and it's awesome. So if you want a tutorial on that, that's like a whole other video. You could probably find a lot of amazing tutorials on that by other people. And again, I will link some of my favorites at the end of this video. But the goal in editing is to keep it interesting. So not only can you add other visuals, but you can also add sound effects if you'd like to. And don't let this freak you out. You don't have to do really fancy stuff from the start. You can learn these kinds of things over time. I honestly think if you just do one simple thing and cut out the fluff, which is my fancy term for the boring parts, the useless parts that don't add value to the video, you will be far above a lot of YouTubers that are out there. And so just think like, is this adding value to the video? If it's not, be ruthless, cut it out. That's my biggest tip that I would tell myself. This video is getting so long and I feel like I've just brushed the surface, but I do have 3 big like channel-wide tips that I wanted to bring you, and then I will again bring up a couple of YouTubers that I really want to recommend to you. But before I do, there was a couple questions about staying motivated, finding time to do YouTube, and another person talked about the slow growth. And so I just really quick wanted to share just something that I think would have helped me a lot, because in the beginning I did not like YouTube that much. Like at first I was doing it because I thought I had to do it, but I quickly grew to enjoy it because I love making videos, I love helping people, and I just naturally really enjoy the storytelling element of making videos. It's actually very similar to writing in a lot of ways, because you're doing a beginning, middle, and end, and you're creating this journey with the viewer. I guess what I'm trying to say is that you have to have a bigger reason for doing it than just, I'm doing this because I have to. I'm doing this to make money. Those two things are not going to be enough for you, because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's gonna come across. And if you're doing it for the money, I hate to tell you this, but it takes a really long time to get monetized. Somebody asked me about that. It took years, like I wanna say maybe 2018 or
2019 and I started again in 2009 technically. Just be aware of that. Like, I honestly think if I wasn't making money from YouTube videos, I would still do them because I actually really enjoy them. I probably wouldn't do so many because I would need to make money somewhere else and put my time into something else, but I really, really love making them and it's fun for me and I love helping you guys. So just consider that and try to find some internal motivation, not something that's external motivation, if that makes sense. All right, let's talk about my 3 big channel-wide tips. And no, these are not going to be about creating your, YouTube name or your channel banner, because honestly, those things are really basic and they don't contribute that much to growth, really. Instead, I want to talk about number 1, binge-worthy content. Number 2, your target audience being more important than a niche. And number 3, the storytelling aspect of YouTube videos and just how important that is. These are all actually super connected, which I think you'll see in a minute, but they're also all kind of their own thing. So let's start with the binge-worthy content. I'm talking about like thinking of your favorite TV shows and how they're connected. So for example, if I'm making videos that are all over the place, I make one about my dog Penny, and then I make one about being a mom and how I've learned stuff about changing diapers that I never thought I knew. And then the next video is about writing, but then the next one after that is about a book I read. And then the one after that is about something that's really unrelated. Minnesota weather. These things are not connected enough to have somebody go from watching one video to the next video, to the next video, to the next video. I'm not saying that all your videos have to be the same topic, but it really helps to think of your content as it's all connected and think of trying to make binge-worthy content similar to TV shows. In fact, I really like this idea that I came up with recently where I have this series on writing a book with a baby, and I kind of consider this like my season 2 in my YouTube journey, where I'm kind of bringing in a new element and a shift in my story, so to speak, and I'm keeping it interesting, but it's all connected. I hope that makes sense. And a lot of people think that the connection needs to be picking a niche, but I actually heard this advice once and I thought it was genius, which is that a niche is actually very, very limiting. It helps to think of your target audience instead of a niche. And what do I mean by target audience? I'm talking about knowing who you're talking to on the camera. Like for me, I'm talking to writers specifically, people who love books, but they especially like writing books. And when I look at my YouTube analytics, the majority of you are women, although there are guys watching too, and I'm glad you are. And I think a lot of you are also moms, which is something that I'm keeping in mind as I start going into this new season of life. My target audience is people who want to know about publishing, about writing, and about marketing books. And those are the 3 things that I know my audience wants. So I try to focus on things that are related to what my audience wants. So I can actually branch out. I know if I was picking a niche and I could only talk about publishing books, then that would be very limiting. But instead I'm thinking, well, I know my audience likes my tips on how to publish books, but I know they also want to know inside information behind the scenes. What is it like to be published? How much money do you make? Like I have my whole money series here, and I know that you guys love that because I'm interested in that topic as well. So having a target audience and then giving them binge-worthy content that they're looking for definitely go together. And then the third element that I think is important for all videos is to consider the storytelling element. And when I first heard this, I was like, how? How do you apply that to like a how-to video or a video like this, literally where I'm teaching you some tips? But if you noticed, I started out bringing you through my day and I've given you some storytelling elements throughout this, and I've told you my personal journey as well as I've taught you stuff. So that's some ways that you can bring the storytelling element in. But if it comes to things like vlogs, you can do it even more so. You can think of, how can I give this video a beginning, a middle, and an end? Which is something that I'm practicing, and I'm just having a blast learning how to do this. You don't have to be perfect when you start out. Trust me, I'm still figuring it out. And I feel like everybody thinks that bigger YouTubers just know everything, but no, we are always learning. We are always figuring it out. So that's a bonus tip, is don't stop learning. Be willing to keep doing your research and watch videos like this. And so that leads to my last tip, I guess, which is some of the YouTubers that I'd really recommend that you watch. And so I'm going to go ahead and dig up some videos here and try to recommend one specific video from each of these people if I can. The first person that I learned so much from when I started out was Sunny Lenarduzzi, and she has, let me scroll down to her playlist here, a YouTube growth strategies right here. That was where I learned so much, and she's going to give you a lot of those specific tips like I told you, like how to script your videos and things like that. But also there's YouTube for business. So she's the first person I'd recommend. The next channel I found that I started learning from after that was Vanessa Lau, and she has, I'm pretty sure, a playlist as well. Yeah, YouTube hacks. And so specifically, I'm going to link below this playlist as well. She actually just did a video on starting a YouTube channel in 2022. So I'm going to link this whole playlist right here. But I watched videos like over here, 5 rules of creating YouTube thumbnails, how to create that YouTube banner that I mentioned, creating a good script, your equipment that you could consider. So again, so many videos from her. Another huge favorite channel of mine is Catherine Manning right here. And you're going to notice that none of these people are writers so far, because I think you need to expand outside of just your niche and learn from people in other niches or with other target audiences on YouTube. So Catherine Manning really helped me take my videos to the next level. I feel like she did above and beyond, and she taught me some really cool editing hacks in iMovie that I had never considered. So I'm pretty sure she has a playlist for YouTube as well, right here, becoming a YouTuber and YouTube equipment, and then tips for new YouTubers. This one right here, I'm gonna link this playlist because her video Start on YouTube right there from, I think it's like 2 years ago, is amazing. But also you can see she has a playlist with YouTube editing tips specifically, and then making money on YouTube specifically. So I definitely would encourage you to check out her channel. Some other channels that are literally focused on YouTube growth are Think Media right here. Roberto Blake right here teaches a ton of stuff about YouTube, and he actually, I think, just did a video, yep, right there, about how to start a successful YouTube channel in 2022 as well. But I'm going to try to find a different one that he made, I think a few years ago, back when I first found him, because that one is even more helpful. And then there's other people who I discovered because I was searching about YouTube, and they only did like 1 video on it, but then I was like, oh my gosh, I can learn so much from their content in general. So Kelly Stamps grew incredibly fast. When I first found her, she was like 60,000 subscribers, and now she has 659,000 subscribers, and this was like a year ago. So I found her right here in this video. I'm going to click on it. It's called Growing Your YouTube Channel with 0 Subscribers, as you can see here. And she just gives her tips so well, and then you can actually see them in action in her other videos, and I just learned a ton from her. Same thing with Katie Yu. I did not know about her until I watched actually both of these videos. This brutal truth that YouTubers are hiding from you, and then how to edit. Both of these are incredibly good. She is a YouTube genius, and again, her channel went from 0 to 100K subscribers super fast. Oh my gosh, and this one from Kelly Stamps too is just as good as the other one. I forgot about this one. So definitely make sure to check out both of these ladies' tips on YouTube. Even though their channel is not a YouTube focused channel, it's still super valuable. I also watched PewDiePie's YouTube tips, believe it or not. Where was it? This one right here. Actually, it looks like I've watched all of these. Don't start YouTube before watching this was, I think, the best one out of the 3 if I remember right, but he is like one of literally the biggest YouTubers ever, so he knows what he's talking about. And then Annie Dubé is another one that I found right here, and she's branched out from YouTube tips, but she actually has, I'm pretty sure, a couple different playlists about here, specifically SEO. You know, I talked a lot about that. She is really good for learning about that, and then also how to grow on YouTube. There's a playlist for that right here. Okay, and one more that I just found, and I am absolutely loving this channel. It's genius. What he does here is he's actually just a voiceover for those of you who are like, I don't want to show my face, because I know there are people like that. This guy does not show his face, but he has amazing visuals, and his videos just keep your attention the whole way through, and they're about really fascinating topics that teach you how to be better at YouTube. I'm gonna have a hard time picking a video for you guys, but I think the first one that I watched was, I think it was this one right here, about how he gained 3 million subscribers in a year. So I'll just link that, and then if you want to watch more on his channel, obviously there's a ton of good videos there. When I say I watched hundreds of videos on YouTube, I literally mean it, but those are probably, I'm going to stop myself with those guys. Those are my favorites that I've learned from, and I again will link them below along with my equipment that I've talked about. Gosh, any videos that I mentioned that I can't even remember because I've said so much in this video. I really hope it's been helpful for you. If it has, please give it a like so that I know, and if you want other topics about YouTube, definitely let me know in the comments. I could go deeper, as you know, on a lot of these topics and try to make them especially relevant to AuthorTube.
Just FYI, I also have a YouTube confessions tag that I did in the past, which has even more information like how I was monetized, how much time I spend on videos, and more. You guys had so many more questions, I didn't even know how to fit them all into this video. So if you want to know more, just comment below and we can do a follow-up video to answer some more questions. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And until next time, guys, I hope you have an awesome day and I'll talk to you again very soon. Bye!
It started